Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett back there. She was in a great mood when I went to pick her up this morning, so it'll be interesting to see how that translates. So it is 7:53 in the morning on Monday, but yesterday was daylight savings. So one thing I noticed is that everybody always says whenever the daylight savings happens, they always say it was daylight savings, or when it gets undone, it was daylight savings. So I was like, well, one of them is when we start daylight savings, and one of them is when we get rid of it. I don't really give a crap which one we do, but we need to quit toggling. Um, but anyways, apparently yesterday was the start of daylight savings. So in 6 months, it will be the end of daylight savings. Um, I think I like this one better. I like it this once we settle in and get used to this. I like this because I do enjoy having that extra hour in the evening. But my understanding is, for particularly for kids who ride the school bus into school, the other one is rough during the winter months in the morning. So I don't care. Like honestly, I don't care. We just need to stick on one. And I've heard, I do not know this to be true, but I've heard that the instances of stroke and heart attacks and things like that amongst people over 50 like skyrocket during this week. And I have heard people even go as far to say that that is the reason why we don't have we're keeping it is only because the hospitals and all these medical organizations make a ton of money um, in this next week. I don't know if that's true. That's pretty. I hope it's not true because that's pretty scary if that is true. That would be part of the decision making. But anyways, so yeah, be careful. Now I noticed when I look at my analytics, which isn't very often, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. Um, Basically, from a statistical perspective, all of the people who look at my videos are guys, 100% guys. Now I know that that isn't factually true, that there are girls because I do have some female subscribers and I've had questions from females before. So I do know that there are girls that do watch my videos from time to time, but from a statistic perspective, it's 100% male. I also know that from a statistic perspective, um, virtually everybody that watches my videos is between the ages of 25 and 35. So you don't really need to worry so much about the um, health implications of this time shift. But like you probably have parents and stuff, and they may not realize that they need to take it easy this week. This would be a good week to maybe skip a workout, uh, maybe go to bed. You know, just maybe take it a little easier on yourself because, you know, because this shift is very, very hard on the body. So there's that. Um, so I have been having a fun time doing unit tests. It's just really neat. I get to sort of think through things and maybe do some refactors that I went to done, and it kind of slows my roll on this software effort to build a cool sort of 3D visualization studio kind of thing that I'm trying to build out. That this is my second run at. I spent a whole year working on a different one, and last year and all that. It's so funny. These things I talk about over here in ChatGPT. I use up all my ChatGPT credits all the time, and so for ChatGPT, apparently I could buy professional for $20 a month, and it would be like it would never run out. Apparently, I could use unlimited at least these sorts of interactions. Apparently, it does other things that are much more computing intensive, but I don't use any of those other things. So, um, but um, but like it's tough because like if you don't really moderate what you spend on your streaming type services, your internet services, they'll get out of hand very quickly. And $20 is a lot. Everything to me, I always think of it in terms of Netflix. So Netflix is something that everybody in my family uses, and we use on a daily basis, and it gives me access to movies and stuff that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make, and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So like, to me, paying $20 a month for something that I will just use and I won't use it every single day, it's tough when you compare it to the price of Netflix. And I guess we have no choice but to try to think of things. And then I don't ever make a profit off of ChatGPT. So I think that's another thing, is like it's definitely a pure luxury item expense. And so I don't know, that's tough. But anyways, so I have an emotional desire that has been conditioned into me since small childhood to get really good scores on things, and the fact that I have a C+ in app component viz statements, an F in app component viz branches, and a C+ in app component viz lines, but I got a perfect score in functions, is, emotionally difficult for me to deal with. So I'm going to try to fix that. And now I click in and I see where the problem is, and it's in this service here. So I click in there and I see that the problem is that it can't find a renderer, an ST renderer. So, but even after that, I'm still going to have a problem because I need a native element to append a child to. So I know how to get a renderer and an ST renderer, but I do not know how to get an append child. So basically what will happen is, when I create my unit test for this function, render in native element, it will, I'll increase my code coverage, but it'll fail when it tries to append the child. So, it's like, okay, what do I want to fit first? But I guess the idea is that I need a game plan. And the game plan is I need to learn how to create an ElementRef and I know that ElementRef sometimes do and sometimes don't have native elements, and it has to have a native element. So step one is I probably need to be able to create an ElementRef, and then step two is I need to create a render. I need it to where when this render comes in and this ST renderer comes back, that they'll exist. Now, that would be the probably best logical way to go about it, but unfortunately, it's not probably the best practical way for me to go at it, because I know how to do these two, and I don't know how to do this one. So it seems like the more practical way will be to knock these two out and then learn how to do this. And then the other thing I have to so if we were like in 2000 right now, in the year 2000, I would be able to make a game plan mentally like what I was talking about, and then I'd be able to do it. There's a saying, I don't know if it's a Southern saying, I think it is a Southern saying, but the saying is the devil's in the details. It's like the things that can go wrong are in the fine details of things, and our modern software development schemes that we have in place right now are easier to deal with on sort of the big picture scale, but they have more details that require, like if you want to understand the details, there's more of them, and there's just more little things that can go wrong. And so that second part, I'm pretty sure the first part I have a pretty good grip on. The second part, I don't know if one just creates an ElementRef and one just adds a native. I don't know if I'm talking crazy on that, like if that's not something. But I'm pretty sure I've done it in jobs before. I'm pretty sure, I love you too. I'm pretty sure I've done it in jobs before. And I know, the only reason I know I'm pretty sure I've done it in jobs before is because I think I've done it to pass unit tests. And I think it was like kind of thing when I sent it out, I had a lot of anxiety that there was going to be like, during the pull request, someone was going to have a real problem with what I did. And I think I've done this 2 or 3 times and been shocked when no one had a word to say. So, So anyways, that's that. So let's look at the spec. I think I already created the, no. Okay, it should render in native element. That's a good it. Okay, so we are calling a function named it. And it takes two parameters. And the first parameter is the name of the test. And it's going to be should render in a native element. And then the second is, now this is a good time just to make sure we got this right. The IDE is giving us all thumbs up, but let's go ahead and run our tests and make sure that there's just nothing we just did wrong. So we're 803, we're doing good. So another thing to really keep in mind is that a lot of times the first day of Statelight, I've noticed that a lot of people are really on the game, and they're really do well on the day of the first Monday after daylight savings is started. But usually it's the Tuesday and Wednesday that people just start to turn on each other and things just go sideways. Okay, so yeah, we're all passing, right? So, and then I think it kind of makes sense to fail it, right? So let's just say expect, oops, misspelled that, expect, that's interesting that I 1 to equal 2. So we should get a failed unit test at this point. Let's move this over here. Yeah, it failed because we expected 1 to equal 2. Wow. Now I don't like that. I don't know. It gives me, starts to sort of stack onto my list of, hey, things aren't going great, sort of things on my internal mental stack. So I'm going to change that back to passing. So basically now we're going to need a instance of the service, of 2 services. There's 2 services that we need instances of. And that is, I can't remember them off the top of my head, this renderer service and ST renderer service. We need those 2. Right, so what I need to do is just go back in one of my other unit tests that sort of brings in services. So I think this render service spec probably brings in the ST render service. No, it does not. Okay, so let's look at our mesh. Let's just work our way up. Let's look at the scene service and see if it brings in the ST render service. Scene service spec. So see, it just brings itself in. Let's go to mesh. Because I just don't remember how to do it off the top of my head, how to pull in. Oh, I keep bringing in the spec, not the service. So all that one does is bring in itself. Maybe it's going to be on the ST renderer service. I bet you in the ST renderer service I pull in the 3 renderer service. Yep, ST render. Oh, the interfaces is all I bring in. Man. Maybe in the app component? I don't think so, though. I think I used to do it. Camera service? Oh, animation service. Animation service must bring it in. Must. There we go. 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 We hit gold. Okay, so this one actually brings in the ST renderer service. It doesn't bring in the ST service, but I think the ST service brings in the ST renderer service, so we don't really need that. So basically, we're going to do this. Now, what I don't necessarily understand is one, oh, viz component spec. Okay. What did I do? What did I do? Hello. Okay, so that is the wrong one. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go to animation service. And we're going to do this ST render service. I'm just going to grab that. Now at this point, I don't think there's anything that makes this ST renderer service anything other than just a function or a class, an object that's no different than any other object around. Okay, so I'm hoping that when I mouse over this, it gives me the blue one. Yes, it does. And then it takes care of the import for me. I don't really like where it put the import, so I'm going to move it up here and all that. I actually really do pay close attention to this stuff up here only for my mental well-being. Just because I think operating and not understanding how things work while you're operating sort of just becomes more and more like toxic to your brain function as time goes on. So I think it makes a lot of sense to try to be aware of more things that's going on in, you know, that's just what I think. But anyways, at this point, I don't believe this ST render service is from the injector or anything. It just literally just creates that. So that means that like when it inside of the actual test down here, this ST render service wouldn't have anything to do with the one that's inside of the function that we're testing. So basically in the viz component service, like these, we want them to get the information from the same injector so that they have the same data, because we're going to be trying to add we want to get, when we say we're trying to add things based on the ID so that it gets it, right? So that is like, right now all we've done is create one. But apparently then the next line, so if we go to animation service, down in here, this is what ties it to the injector. That's what I think, anyways. ST render service. So now, wait, how did I do that? So before each, in my test bed, I'm injecting this object, this actual object. I'm injecting that. And then when I create a viz component, oh, I bet you this is actually what I need to do when yeah, I don't know what I need to do. Okay, don't get distracted. All right, so now this viz component, when we create this viz component, it will get from the injector, it'll get the same one. And I believe that this is the line that ties them together. Not 100% sure on that, but I think that. But I believe we also need we need to do the same thing. We need a ST renderer. So we need a regular ThreeJS renderer. So renderer. And then renderer. Every time I do this, I think, man, am I going to regret not pulling that, not making that 3 render service. Just don't know. Just don't know. But I think that is like one thing I'm really trying to learn And it's a kind of thing that we well, I don't know. Back in the old days, it'd been extremely difficult to change. It may not be so hard to change that if I want to now. It may just be like one session to change, rename that, and refactor it for that name. But anyway, so now we have an ST service and renderer service, and we have made them both part of the injection. We've made them in the injection screen. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, I misspelled it. Renderer. So basically, these are in the concept that Angular has called the injector, or injector tree, I believe it's that. So now they're both being shared by that. So, and it creates a new one of these before each one of these tests. So basically, in my renderer service, I believe I have the ability to get an ID. STID is equal to ST renderer dot get base renderer. So we have just created a base renderer, and I believe when you create the base renderer, it also creates a ThreeJS renderer as part of that whole. Yeah, see, renderer service. So since it doesn't have ST in front of it, this is a ThreeJS renderer. That's just a concept we came up with on our own. It might be nicer, and I'm just going to say this over and over again, if this said T3 or TJ renderer service here, because then we would know for sure it's a ThreeJS service, but it's a renderer. So we have, at this point, we have created an actual straight up ThreeJS renderer and an ST renderer. And that viz component uses the same one, uses the same service. So they are, I think what should happen now is I think my unit test will fail if I do this. I don't know. It's going to try to build it, and I think what it's going to try to do is attach the renderer service. No, it should be fine. Where it'll break. Okay, so let's hit save. Just make sure everything's still passing. I think everything should still pass. And then in this service, I believe this one just gets named service. Am I in the right? I think I'm in the wrong. I'm in the wrong. Wrong again, wrong. So I am currently in the wrong spec. I should be over here in this visualization service spec. And then, oh, wrong one. Wrong place. So this is the service that we're trying to actually test. So that is silly. It's daylight savings. Strikes again. All right. And then, and like I said, things will get worse tomorrow and probably Wednesday. Everything should probably start to normalize by Thursday or Friday. All right. So that's the first thing. We should have breakages because okay, so viz component, we don't want these two. We don't want this. We don't want this at all. that's good. Now we'll come back over here and we'll paste this stuff in here. And it's used before being assigned. I feel like oh, because I don't ever do this piece. There was another piece in the viz component spec. And apparently I deleted it. It was happening right here, I think. This. I'm going to redo everything, hit save, go back over here, and inside the before each. So this before each is much less complex. We're going to do that. All right, so now what we're trying to do is test this service thing. Everything's good, right? We're good right now. And let's just make sure it's actually working. It kind of feels like it's not working, but I don't know. Yeah, somehow the watch is broken. It says it's working, but obviously 2 does not equal 1, or I don't know. So let's kill this thing, run it. Okay, good. Now it's failing. Now let's get it passing again. There we go. And yeah, we're back to where we were. So now, and actually I was thinking about it, like maybe we don't even need to do that. Maybe we could just put a little question mark here and a question mark here. And I think we'll still be failing on branches though, if we do that. But it'd be interesting to learn about. So now I think what we can do is we can just say, service, because that's the service that we're trying to test, dot render element, render in native element, and all, oh, see, I have to send it an ElementRef and an ID. So I have to create an ElementRef. And I don't know how to do that. So we are to this step. Let's go over here. I think I want to click up here. I'm doing unit tests. I'll just say doing unit tests for Angular. And I need to create what do I need to create? What do I need to create? An ElementRef. ElementRef. How to do that? Question mark. Yes! Exclamation mark. Exclamation marks are kind of tricky because sometimes they mean like you're yelling, but sometimes they mean you're excited. And I think it's hard for. I always struggle with whether to use the exclamation mark or not. Oh, so that one will actually have a native element too. So we want to import ElementRef from core, which kind of surprises me that they don't have a testing ElementRef, and I'm already importing it. Am I in the right thing again? I feel like I'm lost again. Yeah. Okay, so I want to import my ElementRef from core. And I think I want these two to be at top. And I guess it makes sense for ElementRef to go, since that's part of core, maybe core, and then core testing should come afterwards. All right, and then we just want to create a mock. So this is a very good example of something that like they literally could just be made up. Or it could be like kind of a mushing of two different things, but it says I should be able to put that there. Can all these be consts? Yeah. So there, but yeah, that's the first problem. Oh no. Oh, it's because it wasn't assigned anything. You can't create a const. How dare you? How dare you, Marty? And then I don't think I want to make that at the top because that means every test could interfere with it. I think I want it to be here. So the first thing we do is we create an ElementRef with the div in there, and then we do that. So that is, these are the two things that we want to pass in. What is it? Render, and then mock ElementRef, and then stid, and then probably don't want this line between these two. Hit save. See if it breaks. I don't know where my unit tests are though. There they are. Don't know if they're actually being tested. Well, let's see what our test coverage is. I feel like we should be able to. Yeah, see, I don't think it actually ran the test. Index. But maybe it did. So we had F's before, so it does look like it actually, no, maybe not. Yeah, see, I don't think it actually ran the test. Let's test my theory here. Or am I even, yeah, no, that's the right one. See, it says it's running the test, but it's not. Oh my gosh, I put a dash, I put a slash at the end there. I don't know what that even does. So now it's running everything from scratch. So it should pop up, everything should be in the way. So I feel better about that, that's very likely correct. Oh, it's still running. Oh yeah, baby. All right, so we got 100%. I think this ended up being a million times easier than I was expecting. I hope the whole day goes like this, where you just, it's very easy to mock an ElementRef and attach it to something. It is interesting to sit down and just sort of smell the coffee and say, oh, okay, so you can just create an ElementRef, and all you have to give it is an element. That's it. And then it will give you an object back that has all the yummy goodness that comes with an ElementRef, and then you can just use it. Simple, simple, simple. So I would imagine the inner workings of ElementRefs and what you need and all that, that's probably pretty stable, but it's probably up for change. Like they could change the way, and that could, if they were to change the way, sort of what happens when you create a new ElementRef, if they were to change the way that works, it could just like break this unit test and stuff like that. But if they change the way that works, I kind of want to know about it anyways, so it would be kind of cool. It would be very useful to know that. Again, one of the decisions I made was to do this, even though against ChatGPT wanted me to declare this up here. The problem is this doesn't happen on the before each. So what would happen is if I modified the ElementRef in here, and then I add another test in the future, that this test modified something that maybe something else uses. So that would be good. So I don't think it is pretty late. Yeah, it's 8:28. It's probably light enough for me to go out and feed the cats. I usually feed the cats before these videos, but um, now it was very, very dark and wet out there this morning, so I figured I'd wait till it was light to feed them. So I guess I will. It would be fun to just run the end-to-end tests. I think they'll all pass. I don't think we made any changes that would affect them. But if that's the case, tomorrow I'll run the end-to-end tests. I think they'll just pass. That we can commit this code, go through the code, and make sure there's no stray console logs, things like that. Commit it, push it, and then start on the next sort of thing. And I think the next thing is a thing that I thought of because of that I thought of just because of looking at things and going, oh man, that's not good. And that is in where one of the things that's just kind of jumping out as a bad thing right now is this stuff, where we sort of just manually add animations onto these animations onto that, and we got to come up with a better way to do that than this. This is not something that we can do. This is not a very useful thing. It's not scalable. Like I want to have all kinds of animations of it moving around and stuff like that, and this clearly won't do. So got to formalize this a little bit, and that would be the next thing, and have to acknowledge that this was not part of, well, I did put a little thought into it from an architectural perspective. It wasn't part of the architecture. I'm being responsive, not proactive. I'm being reactive. I'm reacting to something that I've seen. I did not proactively create an animation service that can accommodate these things. And so since I'm being reactive and I wasn't proactive, there's a certain sort of mistakes that would be very easy to make along these lines. So I'm going to have to be really, really thoughtful on that. Probably more thoughtful than had I been proactive, because I think when you're proactive, and I'm just sort of spitballing and thinking out loud here, I think when you're proactive, what happens is you sort of build it out, and then when you go to use it, you're sort of testing that architecture. You're putting that architecture on the weight of the thing, and then so between those two passes, like the first time when you build it out, and then the second time when you actually do it, you probably knocked out 95% of any problems. But now where I'm being reactive, I'm seeing the problem, I'm building it out to it. There's no next round of, like, the next time I'll put it underweight again is when I go to add more things. So I guess maybe that's the nice thing about building, like when you think things from an architectural perspective and you sort of build it out ahead of time and then you use it, like that's another round to knock out issues that you can't think of. So anyways, that is the next thing that I'll need to work on. And then I think the next thing about that is another reactive thing where I'm reacting. And I guess in my one that I built last year of this, it was all reactive because I didn't know jack about, I didn't know a darn thing about ThreeJS. And so everything was reactive. I was building and discovering all along the way. This time I spent like literally the first month doing nothing but proactively building out the architecture. And then I spent like basically the second month doing nothing but putting that architecture into weight. And so there's two passes at increasing the quality of the actual application. This time, with this stuff, it's only one pass. I'm looking at it and all that and just doing the best. So yeah, I'm gonna have to be super, super careful. But yeah, so the next reactive thing that I'll be doing is the layout, like figuring out, okay, if I have 100 of these, how should they get laid out? I need write code that figures out, oh, okay, I'm wider than it needs to be, blah, blah, blah. What if this thing, what if this first one is this size, which I believe is 150 by 150, and then this one is 300 by 100 by 300, and then should the next one like go under there, or should it go to the right? Should they go to the right and then the next one go there and then the next one go there? Should it go here and then the next one go down here? Like that needs to be coded out, and I haven't been proactive about that at all, and I've never ever even built anything like that out. I believe that is, I think that that's something that you would call like a masonry behavior, you know. So maybe I'll probably name the code that handles that the mason, and hopefully one day it'll be smart enough to where, you know, like I think when I'm actually using this in the long run, want to be able to click on this and get like a little hand here and maybe a little thing up there, and like a little bar up there, and then be able to drag this wherever I want and be able to manually place everything where I want. But then other times I'm going to want to be able to just, and then I maybe want to be able to come over here and say auto arrange, and then it do the best it can. And maybe even like the whatever is highlighted, it builds everything around that, you know, stuff like that, which I hadn't even really thought of before I even started this project. So anyways, happy coding, everybody. I hope everybody has an amazing day. Bye.